Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Finally a hero to protect the kids. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. 27-year-old Andrew Goodman raped two boys, ages 11 and 13, over a period of 4 years. This savage pleaded guilty to 48 felony counts of criminal sexual acts. 48 counts. New York State Judge Martin Murphy sentenced the monster to just 2 years in prison, outraging the victims, their families, and the Brooklyn District Attorney. Murphy gave Goodman the minimum sentence. He could have given him life in prison. Why was the judge so lenient? Murphy refuses to answer the question. He is hiding under his desk. Because of time served, Goodman could be released in a few weeks. Enter U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch, who yesterday charged Goodman with a federal crime of transporting a minor across state lines to engage in sexual activity. Goodman allegedly took one of the boys from New York to New Jersey to see a Kid Rock concert and then had sex with the minor. If convicted on the federal charge, Goodman could get at least 10 years in a federal prison. Ms. Lynch obviously doing this to protect children from Goodman, something Judge Murphy is unwilling to do. She is a hero and should be respected by all Americans for standing up to a gross injustice. Loretta Lynch was appointed by President Obama 2 years ago, is a graduate of Harvard Law School, and is being assisted in the prosecution by the FBI. Finally, we see a public official willing to right a grievous wrong. Finally, and we want the entire country to know it. But what about New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo? Well, he remains silent in the face of a judicial atrocity that has embarrassed his state. New York does not have Jessica's Law, and Governor Cuomo does not seem to care. We challenge the governor to stand up and protect the children of his state. New Jersey also doesn't have Jessica's Law. Governor Christie was asked about that yesterday.
I'm familiar with it, but I don't think the legislature has done anything with it yet. The number of states have, ours hasn't yet. So if you're concerned about it, get to your legislator and write them about it and tell them to get it passed. They send it to my desk. You know, I got a feeling I put my signature on it.
The reason New Jersey does not protect its children the way it should is that one guy is blocking a vote on Jessica's Law. One guy. That would be Senate President Steve Sweeney, a Democrat. The Jessica Law bill is ready to go, but Sweeney is refusing to introduce it for a vote. How cowardly is that? Now, we are asking you to help the kids as well. We have a petition on BillO'Reilly.com we'd like you to sign so we can give it to Governors Cuomo and Christie. We believe Governor Christie will sign Jessica's Law, but we'd like to see him be a bit more proactive and go after the guy who's blocking it in his state. Governor Cuomo remains a mystery. Why? Does he not care about a child rapist sentenced to 2 years in his state? That's just inexplicable. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction with us, attorney and Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly. So Loretta Lynch, the U.S. attorney, she's a hero. Absolute hero.
Absolutely right. And I think having spoken with the DA's office in Brooklyn last week, even they weren't necessarily expecting this. The thought at that point was that the next move would be to try to get the state attorney general to try to get this guy civilly confined somehow. That's a tough battle. So she steps in and saves the day. I'll tell you what happened. The sentence comes down on July 12th. You, to your credit, Bill, brought this into the national eye on July 19th, last Thursday. And that Monday, the following Monday, July 23rd, is when the feds got involved and did their first interview of Mr. Goodman. And now charges have filed. And now instead of getting out in September, which is what he's about to do, he will be arrested, transferred into federal custody upon his release from state prison. And he is now facing 10 years mandatory imprisonment, up to a possible life sentence. Because just so our viewers know, in case anybody's thinking that that might be harsh.
It's not harsh.
I know it is, but just in case. He's got more counts of child molestation and rape than Sandusky. And he got a life sentence, essentially. And this guy was getting out in 2 years, which is a month and a half from now, after time served.
If you didn't see it, and this may be a coincidence, I mean, we don't know what the fact of what we did, but Miss Megyn and I, we did the story in a very methodical way last week, a week ago. All right, we walked us through, we called the judge, we gave the judge every opportunity to explain himself. Well, the judge gives us and the whole nation the finger. That's what he did. Basically, I'm the judge. I'm not going to explain myself, but there is no rational explanation for this.
And we talked
the victims were outraged and appealed directly to the judge not to do it.
And that's the thing.
The DA.
We talked about the fact that one person had one news organization was reporting based on a source close to the judge that he did it because he wanted to spare the victims the pain of a trial, and the victims were standing up in court saying
that's not true.
Forget that. I want the trial. I don't want the guy getting out in 2 years. Judge, please hear me. And he ignored them.
All right. Well, Loretta Lynch is the hero, so we're glad we could report that story, and of course we'll follow it. Yeah. Now, in Colorado, there is an attorney making noise that he is going to file all kinds of lawsuits on behalf of the victims.
It's already been filed. According to Reuters, it has now been filed, and there are 3 defendants. It's a guy who was in the theater on the night of the massacre and with a friend who was shot and killed. All
right. So it's an attorney who was in the theater?
No. He's hired an attorney to represent him.
He was there and his friend was killed. He's hired an attorney. And what's the lawsuit? He experienced the trauma and his friend was killed. And the lawsuit is against the theater for not keeping them safe, the Warner Brothers, who produced the movie. That's ridiculous.
And any doctors who were treating the shooter but failed to disclose a known risk. So the lawsuit against Warner Brothers is going to get thrown out. There's precedent for that. One woman tried to kill the producers of Natural Born Killers. Remember that movie? After she was shot in a similar manner, it got thrown out. You can't really establish liability for a movie production company like this. Movie theater, let the guy in, the shooter, through the back doors or through the doors where we all enter when we go to see the movie. Then he exited through the emergency exit door and came back in. He propped it up. He went out. He got his, shooting paraphernalia, brought it back in. So maybe they'll argue that the movie had some duty to keep the emergency exit secure. That's going to fail. The lawsuit against the potential doctors, we don't know whether this guy was under psychiatric care, but if they can prove he was, and there was a specific, has to be very specific threat saying, this Friday night I'm going into this movie theater and I'm going to shoot up the movie theater.
And the doctor didn't report it?
Then there's a duty, arguably, to report that to the police, but it's a very limited duty, very uphill battle. The lawsuit's probably nonsense.
Finally, Michael Jackson, the late Michael Jackson, has 3 children, and they're feuding with the other Jacksons, members of the Jackson family, over Michael Jackson's will, correct?
I don't even know who's feuding with whom, but the family continues to just be so dysfunctional. She got custody of the 3 kids.
Who's she?
Catherine Jackson, Michael's mom. She's 82.
Okay,
Yeah, their grandmother's now their custodian. She gets shipped off to some retreat in Arizona, some resort in Arizona, by her actual children, Michael's brothers and sisters, Janet and the others.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to be the mother, basically, to her grandchildren. So they're left there in the custody of the nanny and the cook and whoever else runs the Jackson estate, but no caretaker, really. No,
How old are the kids?
Grandma. 15, 14, and 10. So there's a nanny, but so
unsupervised.
Grandma doesn't call. She goes away for a week. They can't reach her.
Right.
So now, I think it's Jermaine's son, who's 34 years old, goes into court and says, she can't be the guardian. Make me the guardian. Grandma's at some resort. The kids are young. The court says, okay, here you go. Until Grandma comes back, you, TJ, who's the uncle to these kids, you can be their guardian. But apparently Catherine Jackson's going to resume as their guardian now that she's back in town.
Yeah, there's a lot of money at stake here for caring for the kids and all of that. All right, it's a tabloid story, but I just wonder what it was all about.
It continues to be just as dysfunctional as ever.
And we want to, again, congratulate Miss Lynch for really stepping up.
Good for her. It's very rarely done. Very rarely done for the feds to step in like this. It should be done more. It should be